Good morning, Staten Island. How are you? My name is Todd Bivona with Gotham Trinity Productions, the digital media ambassador. What? The digital media ambassador for the SIEDC. Yes, welcome aboard. This is the Thursday edition of SIEDC Live, a program where we chat with various members from the SIEDC and just get a feel for the pace of their business at this point in time, all things considered, going from the in-physical person in office setting to the COVID-19 quarantine.
Oh, sorry, my sound was off. Thank you, Bobby. Sorry, so you didn't hear anything I just said for the past minute and a half. So Jaclyn, um, Jaclyn Taschetti, Director of Marketing and Outreach for the SIEDC. She's going to join us in a second. Just to reiterate what I was saying a second ago, who's joining us today? Mike Montalbano from TeamLogic IT and from Camelot. Luke Nasta is going to join us as well. All right, Mike G. Graziuso is going to help save the show from behind the scenes. He's directing the shindig. Let's bring on Jaclyn Taschetti while I figure out my IT issues here. I can't believe this happened. Hi, Jaclyn.
Hi.
So, Jaclyn, let's save this program here. I'm going to ask you to kind of go off the cuff a little bit because obviously I can't log on right now. Mike G, in the background, if you can log into SIEDC.org and share your screen so Jaclyn can go through the offerings on SIEDC.org. While that happens, Jaclyn, just vamp for a little bit and tell us the latest news at SIEDC.
Sure. So one of the latest things that we've done is add the details of the reopening, rebuilding, and resiliency program to our website. And we are updating the document weekly because included in that document, we added some stats for accomplishments that the organization has had with local businesses thus far. And those, luckily, and we're proud of this, continue to go up weekly. Having to do with the services that we're providing to local business. So some of those stats include how many promotions we've shared for local businesses, how many of our local businesses and members received loans. Oh, there we go. So if you go to the download button on that section of the website, it's the first thing you'll see on the homepage. And you click it, it brings you to the latest document, which was updated this week, outlining the program for you. So I know some of the viewers have commented on previous shows with questions about the program. So we figured since we reference SIEDC.org so often, we wanted to outline the program and have it available. So if you could continue to scroll, I believe it's the next page. We talk about some of the highlights and accomplishments. So you'll see here there are 3 pages which outline some of the things that we've done so far as an organization. And then just after this section, we have some of the plans for the future. I believe it page for the program going forward. So you see we outlined it in a few different sections. One being marketing, the next education. We outline the task forces and committees within the organization that are available to help, and also direct services, policy services. But again, if you are a viewer or owner of a local business, you can visit our website, see the details of this program, and reach out to SIEDC utilizing our contact page, and we can assist you from there. So I think it's great that we have it available now.
Yeah, and as always, a great resource. Plenty of information, and you guys have been very consistent in doling out various information. And they had break it down into sectors, right? You had different points of contact with the different industries, like their dining network
Correct.
and whatnot, things of that nature. So it's been very effective. Email blast. Real quick, you are putting your normal print publications into digital. Just want to touch on that real quick.
Sure. So annually, the SIEDC comes out with documents such as our membership directory. We have a neighborhood development profile, and we are now issuing those documents digitally. Each are being distributed first via email blast to our subscribers. If you are interested in subscribing, you can visit siedc.org and sign up for the daily newsletter. And then we are also posting each document to the website. So if we do come back after quarantine and have the events, we may print some of these documents for distribution, but we be available while our network is in quarantine as well.
Excellent. All right, Jackie, we said we had a packed show today.
We
so
do.
I think we're going to get right to it. Two very important guests to have on this program that's very pertinent to heck today, even having internet issues at the wazoo today. Mike Montalbano from TeamLogic IT. TeamLogic IT. Sorry, Mike. And then, but first, let's bring on Luke Nasta joining us from Camelot. Luke, good morning, sir. How are you?
Morning. Fine, thank you. How are you guys?
Doing all right.
Well.
All things considered with our internet issues, we apologize for everyone watching at home, but we're going to keep plowing through. We have a lot of information to get to here, Luke. Luke, first, tell us a little bit about Camelot.
Camelot was founded in 1971. There was a heroin problem on Staten Island during that time. North Shore Kiwanis Club founded it to address the active heroin addict. That was kind of the first heroin epidemic that Staten Island experienced. There was an organization called the North Shore Kiwanis Club that founded Camelot. So we provide outpatient services and residential treatment. We have 70 beds on Staten Island. And we're also in Queens and the Bronx in Tier 2 family homeless shelters, where we have space there and work with the families.
So things have kind of not changed for you guys, Luke, as far as being in quarantine, effective, what was it, back in March now we're talking. But Luke, give me a general, what has changed since you guys have been quarantined for Camelot? Has there been any change in protocols, residents, who's been taking part? What's been the biggest difference at Camelot? Uh-oh. Are we kidding me? Are we losing Luke as well?
Is that right?
Luke, I apologize. It looks like we went from getting you in the 80s TV screen. I almost want it's like the Nintendo where you have to blow the cartridge just to make it work. Nothing is working right today for us. Hey, this is live. It's live TV, ladies and gentlemen. This is what happens. We got 3 million viewers, but that's okay. Here we go. I think, Luke, we got your back. Talk a little bit more about the transition that you guys have been going through during quarantine.
Okay, in our outpatient clinic, we're not seeing people in the building anymore. So we went to telemedicine, and we've experienced a decrease in the number of clients that we're seeing, but not dramatic. So we've transitioned well. In our 70 beds in the residential program, one of them is a 45-bed on the grounds on the campus of Seaview Hospital, and the other is a 25-bed in the Port Richmond Avenue area. We thought that we would see a mass exodus from the programs once the virus was announced, but just the opposite happened. The clients felt that they were in the best place that they could be, that they were safe, and so our beds are filled. Maybe we have one empty bed. The beds are filled, and since we've never had a case of the virus among any of our residents. We have had it with our staff, but we're following protocol, and it turns out that the residential treatment program is really a safe place to be.
Which is great and very important for all your residents, and obviously thoughts go to those who have been going through it from your staff perspective. Next, what is Camelot doing for when the normal life resumes, whatever that means, as far as businesses reopening up and getting ready for when a lot more people out and about again? What's been the process like while in quarantine, getting ready for that there, Luke?
Our biggest concern is that the opioid epidemic has been overshadowed by the COVID-19 pandemic, and subsequently the economy suffering, which means less tax dollars. And the governor of New York, Andrew Cuomo, tells you how far I go back. Andrew Cuomo has announced that there'll be cuts to programs, and if this happens, it'll just worsen the opioid problem. Our services need to be spared. They need to be held harmless by government, and that's New York State government. Well, all forms of government, federal, state, and city, need to realize that the underlying pandemic of opioid overdoses has not ceased. It's increased. It's spiked. In Suffolk County, I think their district attorney reported a 40% increase in overdoses. I don't remember if it's deaths or not, but it's in overdoses. So moving forward, our fear is that we'll be lumped in with every other service across the board and have a reduction in funding, which our funding all goes direct to direct services. It's all about counselors. So if we lose funding, we lose counselors. If we lose counselors, we lose the capability of serving the public.
So that's a big call out there for government intervention, government help, government assistance. Speaking of the government, Mr. Nasta, you've been called upon by the mayor of the city of New York, Mayor de Blasio. Is that correct, to be part of the task force? Which task force has you been asked to be a part of, sir?
It's Public Health and Health Council.
Okay. And what's the goal there for that task force, and what's the focus for you and everyone else on that committee?
Well, the majority of the participants represent the hospital system. They're MDs, so their focus is really clearly on the virus and the effects on the citizens' behavioral health. And we had a meeting last night. It was an hour and a half, but there were 40 members on the council, and I really didn't get a chance to speak up. I think I'm going to have to be for as long as it lasts, I'm going to have to be the voice that keeps bringing this topic up. And I expect what will come from it is a report to the mayor on the different disciplines and what they need to be to continue to be effective. Right.
And this, the epidemic, just to recall, if people just joining us, we're at 9:45. This is SIEDC Live. This is Luke Nasta, Chief Executive Officer of Camelot of Staten Island, as you can see on your screen, going over a very important topic of the opioid epidemic, taking a backseat, to be quite fair, to the COVID-19 pandemic, and the steps that Camelot and its great workers there are taking to try and prevent the issues that are going on. Luke, expand a little bit more now that we have some more viewers joining us. Other issues that you foresee happening in the weeks and months to come, and what needs to be done in order to curtail that, because I know we spoke yesterday in regards to being at home alone in isolation is not a good thing for a lot of people with opioid issues. Could you speak to that a little bit, Luke?
Yeah, again, it's not a social drug. It's one that's done in solitude, and when you're under the effects of it, you're in a cocoon. You don't come out, and nothing comes in. So the quarantine aspect of the COVID-19 has exacerbated that. Also, people are most probably not as able to get street drugs, so instead have started going to physicians to get substitute narcotics, pharmaceutical narcotics, and then take too many of them. You know, they're alone and they take too many of them and overdose.
Right.
So it's people who are involved with drug use, and I'm not talking about the partiers, I'm talking about the people who are psychologically and physically dependent on drug misuse. They're not social. They're suffering. They're within their own mind, within their own confines. They're depressed. They don't feel good about themselves. They feel bad about themselves, and the painkillers are effective. They kill pain, not just physical pain, but emotional pain. So the worse they feel, it's a cycle. It's a declining cycle where the worse you feel about yourself, the more drugs you use. The more drugs you use, your behavior subsequent or part of being an active drug user makes you feel bad about yourself. So it just continues to spiral downward. It's not a pretty picture for the future.
Correct. And this is kind of a general question. We haven't talked about this ahead, but I'm just curious. You talk about people being forced into isolation. How about the population that's normally out and about, not non-users, now forced to be in isolation? People who thrive on social and just being out and doing things, who are now having issues within themselves and not being able to get out and be social and hug and kiss their moms, their dads, their friends, and are finding they need an out. And have you heard any stats or had any entrances into Camelot with regards to people who weren't before using, but now trying to find things, like you said, at a local pharmacy and concocting something or finding something at home, or alcohol abuse even? Have you seen non-users prior getting lost in themselves in the here and now, being in quarantine? What have you heard, if anything, Luke?
It's what I've heard. It's not so much what Camelot has experienced,
Okay.
but the alcohol sales have gone up dramatically. People are in their homes. They're bored. How much Netflix can you watch? And they're self-medicating, and in a way, they're using the drugs to recreate. And it addresses the anxiety of being indoors, not having human contact, not having access to your loved ones. All of that contributes to drug misuse and certainly alcohol misuse.
Yes.
I mean, we'll find subsequent to this virus, we're going to find a spike in all of those self-destructive behaviors, as well as mental illness and domestic violence.
Right. And another issue, domestic violence. I too have heard. I don't have the stats in front of me. Also have heard and read articles about the rise in domestic violence during these past 2 months. So a difficult time for many indeed, and a very important topic for us to cover. Luke Nasta joining us, Chief Executive Officer of Camelot of Staten Island, with some very important information. I think we can all agree. Luke, we'd love to have you back sometime. Really appreciate your time today.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for what you're doing, because this is essential to get this information out. Thank you.
Absolutely. And of course, thank you for being an SIEDC member. So Luke Nasta, Luke, thank you so much. Have a good one.
Peace.
Peace. I love it. And contact Luke for the 80s effect on your laptop to figure out how to get those lines jumping on the screen. It's like the Instagram filter, but you get an 80s effect. Anyway, that was a very important topic. Luke was great. Really appreciate his time. He's going to come back, and he'll probably have a lot more to say next time as well, to get an update on the situation. So we appreciate Luke. But equally as important, IT security for those at home, working from home. So joining us, we're very happy to have Mike Montalbano, owner of TeamLogic IT, joining us here on SIEDC Live. Mike, thank you so much for being patient, waiting in the green room. I'm notorious for keeping people in the green room, as some of my friends will know. So thank you for your patience and good morning.
Todd, good morning, and no worries. I mean, that was fantastic stuff and very important stuff that that Luke was talking about and what he does for the community. Amazing stuff.
It touches so many people, right, Mike? And it's important to discuss, and even for those who are having issues with drug use and those not, Mike. I mean, let's be fair. All of us have been quarantined, and some of us are feeling trapped as well. So for some of us, it's been a lot. So good to talk about again. So thanks to Luke. But Mike, let's get into TeamLogic IT. Let's switch gears a little bit. Tell us a little bit about TeamLogic IT, and then we got about 10 minutes to go. Transition to what your team has been doing during quarantine, sir.
Sure. Well, TeamLogic IT, we're an IT managed service provider. So we provide IT solutions to small and medium-sized businesses, helping them out with their IT infrastructure. Things like managed IT services, cybersecurity, business continuity, data backup and recovery, VoIP services. All these things kind of fall under what we can do and help for small businesses. And today, what's been really important has been, work from home solutions. Whether it's accessing the office network or, preparing and getting businesses being able to use online meeting services.
Okay, and then let's get into. Sorry, I'm just looking at our notes here. Excuse us, ladies and gentlemen. I think so. You went over business during COVID-19 a little bit, right?
Yeah, it was an interesting time for us, as it has been for everyone. We were in the midst of an office move, so added a little bit of a challenge for us operationally, which was maybe some logistics and deliveries and things like that. But we got through that, and immediately when it happened, we went right out to our client base and contacted them to see, how everyone is doing, what they're going to be looking at, and how we could help.
Speaking of how you can help, TeamLogic IT has some offers during this time, and also talk to us a little bit how you're getting businesses ready to go back to work, whatever that means, Mike. Again, different phases of this that the governor may have set forth for all of our small businesses on Staten Island. But regardless, everyone needs to be ready. When the green light is lit, they need to be ready. What are some of your offers from TeamLogic IT, and how are you preparing your clients, and how would you recommend people use your services to be ready?
So, I think that there's definitely going to be a change going forward in workforces in general, and I think you are going to see quite a bit more of the work from home tools being used more frequently. So with that said, things like there's been a lot in the press about Zoom and services that they have, but some of the problems they had with security. Zoom has, to their credit, put in patches and tried to fix that as quickly as possible. Early on during this, we were a little hesitant to go to Zoom, so we're looking for other solutions. WebEx, by Cisco was a bit of an issue because so many people were looking to get into that. They were backlogged. They simply couldn't handle what was coming in those first few days. So we have, something that we're using for clients and really for anyone right now, called Online Meeting, which is a good, very good, competitor, if you will, to Zoom. The nice thing about it that has helped me with my clients, it is in its version now where we could offer free for the rest of 2020. It allows for meetings that are longer than 40 minutes, which is one of the limitations of Zoom. Some of the other things that we're offering are 15% discount on services right now. And if there's a business out there that happens to sign a managed service contract with us, that first month's fee will be waived up to $2,500. So it's some of the things we're offering, as businesses are calling in and looking to see what their needs are and how we can help.
So, Mike, you talk about your offer of online meeting, free for the remainder of 2020. Your offer is, but in general, for those who are still trapped in using Zoom, if their employer uses Zoom, or if they've already used the Zoom platform, and other things. How about some social apps, for instance, like House Party? I know a bunch of my friends use House Party and whatnot. There's a lot out there, Mike. Can you just give us a little bit of a guideline, so to speak, or things to look out for when it comes to security, whether it's a cell phone app on a laptop like this, and being careful with your information, Mike?
Sure. Like, some of the things you may look at, particularly let's use, Zoom as an example. Some of the things that users can do is that, they can make sure they're locking their meetings. They can, put their participants into a waiting room. These are things all the user has access to and can, click off quite easily. Another thing is, changing your password for each meeting you set up. Each service has its own little nuances, whether it's Zoom or Teams or some of those other fun services that you mentioned. It's you just have to kind of, if you're a little bit technically savvy, make sure you go into the settings, look at the security settings, because most of these apps and services now have something like that where you, the user, can go in and they're pretty self-explanatory what they're going to help you do.
I feel like we have to touch on this, as much as we joked about Luke's 80s effect on his camera there, and I see him smiling. He's still in the green room. You know what? I'm just going to bring him on the screen real quick. But that effect that he has going on there, we believe that's due to internet connection. So I want to kind of parlay this into issues that I had today. My internet dropped, and a friend of mine's been telling me I'm out of my mind for what I'm using. But talk to us about home internet use rising because everyone's working from home, or they're with the kids are home, so they're streaming. They're playing online gaming, which is fine. We're keeping them busy. But if someone's conducting a very important meeting or live on air here on Facebook, talk to us a little bit about what Luke could do, what I could do, anyone could do to ensure optimizing their internet at home.
Sure. A lot of that is going to come from, what the ISP offers, meaning Verizon or Spectrum. A lot of people, maybe they sign on and, it may be a lower level plan. Verizon does offer higher version plans where, the capacity for how many devices it can manage and work seamlessly is significantly different. So that's something you want to look at if you're noticing issues, like maybe like Luke's having. You go to a Quantum or something higher where you're getting higher speeds and the capacity is greater in that instance.
Excellent information. And I have a general internet question. Have you fielded any questions, or what's been the reaction to the internet, whether it's Spectrum, Fios, cable, whoever's your internet service provider out there? Has there been any strains on internet and bandwidth because there's so many more people using at home, or has it been okay? Because I know the day is being stretched out now at home, and people are working in the morning and at night, and there's peak hours and not peak hours. Can you touch on that a little bit, and internet use, and when is peak, and what service providers have going through, if anything at all?
That's a great point and question you bring up. Honestly, I have not seen anything that's caused any disruptions, within my client base. I can see like the home users potentially having problems. The home users aren't necessarily a market that I'm really focused on. I'm a B2B. I'm really looking to work with those small and medium-sized businesses, and most of them have the higher level plans where they're not being affected right now. But again, I would say, if you're a house and, you have 3 or 4 kids, and now all of a sudden all of them are on the laptop at the same time, and that peak time may be 9 to 1 in the 9 in the morning to 1 in the afternoon, as parents are now homeschooling and trying to get that work done. You're going to want to look to upgrade your speeds with your ISP.
So it's got to be diligent, got to be smart about how you're using your internet. I'll actually want to bring Luke back into the conversation, because once again, we're at 10 o'clock. But I think I just want to recognize Luke Nasta again joining us from Camelot, and his 80s effect, which I love his background as well, by the way.
Awesome.
Are those, I don't know if those are, is that a quilt, or are those records in a quilt?
No, it's a quilt. It's pretty much an antique. And those are my 3 children's college diplomas.
Excellent. Very nice.
And my wife bought us flowers for the occasion.
Oh, very nice. Good. Very nice backdrop. And Mike, what is that, a painting I see behind you?
That is. It's when I was a kid, I was a big Don Mattingly fan, and it was something I picked up many years ago. And yeah, I just kind of decorated the office with it.
Gentlemen, as I speak about things getting back to normal, as Jaclyn Taschetti rejoins us from the SIEDC here. Jack, before I get to you, real quick though, baseball coming back. It sounds like it sounds like good news. So we might see Donnie Baseball managing, coaching. Who knows where we'll see him? But I think it'll be nice to talk about life getting uplifting, positive vibes, people going outside more. I think it would be amazing to get baseball back, right, guys?
Oh, absolutely.
Definitely.
They're excited. All right, Jaclyn, I know we are at 10:02, but it was important the two of you spoke today. Thank you, Jaclyn. Anything else you'd like to ask these guys?
I think we're good. I just want to thank you both for coming on. Both of these topics are so pertinent at this time, and our audience found it very valuable. So thank you so much for participating and for being valued members of the SIEDC. We appreciate you.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So that was Mike Montalbano from TeamLogic IT, and that's Luke Nasta right there from Camelot of Staten Island. Guys, once again, we appreciate the time. Have a great day.
Be well.
Peace.
Thank you.
Right. Peace. I love it. it's old school, but it's perfect. Really, really cool. Well, that was a great edition of SIEDC Live, barring the technical glitches, whether it's the 80s look or just internet dropping out of nowhere. And audio issues. So thank you so much for bearing with us. To Bobby Anderson, Dave Consiglio, thanks for noting what was going on with my audio. You saved me. Jaclyn, thank you so much for being patient. And to Mike and to Luke, of course, for their time. That'll do it for this episode of SIEDC Live. My name is Todd Bivona from Gotham Trinity Productions, the digital media ambassador for the SIEDC. Really appreciate it. Coming up next, my good buddy Mikey B, Breakfast with Bloomy at 10 a.m. At 2 o'clock, a fellow SIEDC member, Frank Wilkinson, live from Rab's Country Lanes. Really cool show. He had Nelson Figueroa on last week, which was awesome. 3 o'clock midday with Massimo Dadon from Partners in Sound Production. And Mike Graziuso, appreciate his help behind the scenes today. He will be your host for Gotham After Dark. Grab yourself an adult beverage and have a good time with your friends at Gotham Trinity Productions and Gotham After Dark. Thank you so much for joining us, everyone. Have a great day.